Get ready for some open doors. Suddenly you meet the right person. Suddenly your career takes off. What happened? The doorkeeper stepped in. God was showing us closed doors can't stop Him. Locked doors cannot keep you from what God has for you. Now, people may have closed the door, tried to keep you from promotion. How you were raised may have shut the door. You feel like you're at a disadvantage.
Hold that thought. I almost called the message, hold that thought. Let's at least put that in the chat. I mean, even if you're watching this after 3.5 years, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Once you get over the fact that other people's opinions, they are not limits, they are merely suggestions. Contrary to what your mom told, you don't have to eat everything on your plate. You don't have to believe everything in your brain.
The changes that God, the things that God has changed. I'm different. I used to be negative, I'm positive. I was hopeless, I'm full of hope. I felt like nothing and nobody, and now I'm preaching the gospel all over the world. I didn't trust anybody, I didn't like anybody, I was suspicious. But when I began to learn these principles of faith and I began to apply them through praying and saying and doing.
Do we not understand that we disagree privately, but we honor and celebrate publicly? It's called brotherly love. You can't talk about my fellow man like that. I'm not gonna let this go down like that. You can't just say whatever you want. That's my brother, that's my sister, and we're walking in harmony. He says, you wanna know what harmony is? It's being compassionate and humble, because it's my brother, and I will stand in the gap.
When you aim to the moon and you miss, you still amongst the stars. So it kind of keeps you motivated a lot longer, man, to help you push through. Because everybody's gonna have to have a push through moment, because everybody has a turn back moment. The key to making it is you can never turn back. See, God is always coming. See, look, man, when you ask God for something, God boxes it up, puts your name on it, and He ships it the day you ask for it.
They don't have dreams for themselves. They don't have any hopes. They're hopeless. They're uninspired, unmotivated. They have no dreams. They have nothing that they're ambitious about. But I want to remind you to continue to dream and dream big. I have a habit of dreaming with my eyes open. I get very inspired by the things I see. I'm inspired by architecture. I'm inspired by photography. I'm inspired by ideas.
If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and it's hard to put into words, some real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense, but I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
Difference between depression and joy, and I think it's purpose, right? It's like when you wake up in the morning, your life means something to somebody other than you, that you have a purpose.
How to break through a crisis. Crises happen, whatever type of crises you go through in your life, and I know you've had many, when we make some choices unconsciously and we get consequences. And we make them unconsciously because we're trying to get what we want. We don't really know what we value most. We don't know what we need. And we find ourselves waking up one day and going, why is my life this way? It's kind of like life is always calling to us to constantly grow and improve.
Discipline is like a set of magic keys that unlocks all the doors of wealth, happiness, sophistication, culture, high self-esteem, pride, joy, accomplishment, satisfaction, and success. The first key to discipline is awareness of the need for and the value of discipline, and especially the discipline to make the changes. What will it take? What must I do? And what must I become to get all I want from my life?
How much time do you have left? I don't know. And so therefore, when you look at your life in that context, at least for me, I'm looking at doing several things. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, I want to talk to people who are hungry to make an impact with their lives. And it was something that I don't know whether or not that hits you like it hit me.
What if I can graduate amongst these studs? All these guys around me are studs. They're stallions, they're gladiators in my class. They're all healthy, most of them. They're not broken like this. They may have some, everybody's sick going to that training. But if I can graduate, it would change everything for me. If I can start the hardest training in the world, broken, and graduate. So my mind fed off of that. You are now, from the weakest man, you are now the hardest man to ever.
They tell each other, and they'll tell you, you did the best you could. No, they'll say the deck was stacked against you. And they'll say it's not your fault. And they'll tell you it's okay to stop. It's okay to settle. It's okay to give up. And that is the instinct you need to fight. You need to push back, to smash into the ground.
One or the other system was correct in some deep manner. And I do truly believe that I entered that universe of questions, let's say, with as open as a mind as possible, because I actually wanted to find out the answer, because, well, it seemed to me that fundamental question that obviously we fought a whole Cold War about it was the fundamental question. It was the question everyone's minds should have been concentrated on. What were beliefs made out of? Like, what exactly is it?
Forces of darkness may have locked the door, tried to keep you from your healing, from your freedom. It's been that way a long time. Feels like the door is not only shut, but it's locked, deadbolted. The good news is God doesn't have to open the door, He can come through it. He's not limited by what's limiting us. We're natural, He's supernatural. You need to get your fire back. Closed doors can't stop you.
The thought is optional. And I imagine that the woman thought, put it back up, because she thought. That's what got me started on wanting to preach about this woman, is because just like her bleeding started on the inside, so did her healing. See, I can have 1,000 thoughts. I can have 1,000 thoughts. But the one that I hold determines where I go.
Praying and saying and doing and praying and saying and doing. If you can ever learn how important that is to not just talk about how you feel all the time, although there's a place for that, and we're not saying to deny your feelings, but to just talk about your problem and talk about it, 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 talk about it. Let me tell you something. If you've got friends and you've been talking to them about your problems for 10 years, they are tired of it. I mean, if they won't tell you, I will tell you. And they got tired of it a long time ago.
I think this is really, really important, because when it comes to my brothers and I, my brothers and I, we can fight. In fact, when I was younger, it got physical. Like, we would lay hands on each other, and it wasn't the ministry, if you know what I'm talking about. We would fight. We'd get into it. And you might even hear me privately say something about my brother at my house. My brother, he's wearing me out. That's one thing. I can say that. He's my brother. But if you think for 1 second you can be in my presence and utter a negative word about my brother, you got something else coming.
God sends your package, but He only delivers to Faith Street. Soon as you ask for it, He ships it. The problem with the package is He never tells you the date that it's going to arrive. If He did that, it would destroy the one element that He requires, your faith. If you step off of Faith Street and you go over here to I Don't Believe It Boulevard, He don't ship there. If you step over here to I Don't See How Avenue, He don't ship there.
I'm inspired by the idea that someone can have a vision, and if that vision had stayed in their mind, they would have robbed the world of the opportunity to experience that vision. I mean, think about this. As big as this is, the fact that it's in the middle of the street, if they had kept this idea inside their minds, I wouldn't be here to look at it or experience it. This is the power of visions.
If you don't go do the things that you're going to do, people's lives will suffer. And I think that kind of purpose, that like to live in service, not to you, but to live in service to humanity, to live in service to your family, to live in service to your city, to your country, to the world. Living in service is that, I feel like that is the purest form of joy.
If you're going to look at what's going to make life work, it's really simple. What makes people happy is progress. We're happy when we're progressing. If you're overweight, but you leave today and you say, you know what, this breakthrough thing, what I got out today for me more than anything else is, I've been stuck waiting for some magical diet, some magical exercise plan, some magical time in the future when we have more time. There is no more time. I'm just gonna make a decision today to get started. I don't need to go out there and go interview 20 trainers and get online. I don't need somebody to give me a perfect plan. I need just to pick up my shoes and start walking.
The second key is the willingness. More than that, the eagerness to maintain your new discipline deliberately, wisely, consistently. And the third key to discipline is the commitment to master the circumstances of your daily life, to see and harness the opportunities to make something of the sun and the rain, the good as well as what comes in the guise of misfortune. Discipline does many things, but most important of all is what it does for you. It makes you feel better about yourself.
Make this year and all the years after the greatest time in your journey in this experience of life, the best you've ever had. That's who I want to talk to, because a lot of people don't know we're going to leave here. It's a part of the process. It's one of the seasons of life. And one of the seasons of life is enlightenment. One of the seasons of life is that you go through some stuff.
Life is one big mind game, and you're playing it with yourself. Is it true? I don't care. It got me through the hardest training, starting out broken. Where most people quit, I had just started. And when you take that mindset and you learn to flip that around, that's what made me powerful, and my body followed. And 3 months later, my stress fractures were healed by running on them.
That's the instinct. That's a defense mechanism. It wants to give you an out, a place to run to, a little place of sympathy, an amnesty, a little place of amnesty where everything is forgiven, where all these failures can gather together in comfort and drown their sorrows in lies and in deception.
I was curious. I mean, the first question was, were these merely two ways of looking at the world? Now, because you might think, well, there's no shortage of ways to live in the world. And that's a morally relativistic stance. And there's something to that, obviously, because people differ in occupations, and they differ in outlook and so forth. They differ in political beliefs. So there's obviously many ways that we can thrive in the world. And so some degree of flexibility with regards to what constitutes your fundamental axioms obviously is necessary.
Locked doors cannot keep you from your destiny. God is not restricted by what's holding you back. He's not hoping someone will open the door, hoping someone will let him in. He doesn't need permission. He controls the universe. The medical report may say that you're not going to get well. It looks like that door is permanently closed. Get ready. God is about to come through the door.
I bet she also thought, can we talk about what the woman also thought? You've been sick 12 years. You've been to every doctor. You've been kicked out of every insurance policy. Nobody wants to hire you. You got pre-existing conditions, so nobody wants to be with you. 12 years. That's long enough to completely give up hope. That's long enough where she would have also thought. How many agree? She would have also thought. Put it on the split screen. Here's the screen of what she did. Here's what she also thought. What's the point? I tried this before.
I don't have the education for it. I was told I didn't have the personality for it. I was told I didn't have the voice for it. I was told I was a woman. It was like, God, I'm a woman. He said, I know. So I'm changed. I've had different health issues in my life, and God has healed me. I had cancer. I was healed. I had migraine headaches for 10 years. I was healed. Now, when I say I was healed, I did not receive a supernatural miracle, but God walked me through them. He led me to answers.
You want to know what harmony is? It's loving as brothers. I am one of 4. I have 3 brothers. And I know something about brotherly love. And all types of love is different. That's why the Greeks, they have 4 different terms for love. We just know love. I love my pizza and I love my wife. It's like, which kind of love is that, Greeks have agape and storge and phileo and eros love, all these different types of love. But brotherly love is this phileo type of love. It's a deep friendship.
The package only goes to Faith Street. What happens to the average person is that when the package arrives and you ain't on Faith Street, it's just like the post office and FedEx, UPS. If you ain't there, the package got to go back. You know how many packages you got in heaven with your name on it that got sent back? This real talk, man. This is how it works. Being successful, y'all, is not a magic trick. You have to learn the principles of success. You can be successful at anything.
This is the power of not allowing anyone to laugh at you. When you say, I want to build something, a sculpture that can go in the middle of the street, and it can be an iconic sculpture that will last forever. Long after I'm dead and gone, this could be a sculpture that can stand in the middle of a street here. And if this person who built this would have allowed people to talk them out of their dreams and their visions, it wouldn't be here for us to see or experience.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it, period. It's that simple. I know who I am, I know what I believe. That's all I need to know. And that's all I need to know.
Once we get seduced into a particular story and we start to believe it, it takes a hold of our life and it controls all of our choices. And then pretty soon, bad choice on top of bad choice on top of bad choice starts to affect our life. Can you relate? How many times you've made some choices that you wish like hell you would have made a different decision back then, or that no one ever knows the stupid decisions you made? I know I can relate to that.
The smallest discipline can have an incredible effect on your attitude. And the good feeling you get, that surging feeling of self-worth that comes from starting a new discipline, is almost as good as the feeling that comes from the accomplishment of the discipline. Second, a new discipline immediately alters your life direction. You don't change destinations immediately. That is yet to come. But you can change direction immediately. And direction is very important.
One of the seasons of life is that you reach points in your life that you have some major breakthroughs. This was a breakthrough moment as I looked at and started reviewing what I'm going to get out of this year. There's no conversation that people are having now about Happy New Year. They're through saying the celebratory things now.
I like to get a bunch of men together, men that are the hardest of the hard, and I want to be with these men, and I want to see them suffer. Because I'm suffering right along with you, but I want to see me get through it. I want to see what you're made of. I want to see, like, almost like the 𝐒𝐿𝐵 in Rome. I can go to the 𝐒𝐿𝐵, and the only way to see who the baddest is to suffer. You can't do it by writing a paper.
This is the instinct that says, you've had enough. This is the instinct that says, you've given it your best shot. You can stand down. You can back off. You can take a knee. This is the instinct that says, you can rest now. Do not listen to that instinct. Do not listen. That instinct is a liar and wants to bring you down.
There's a deeper question, and this is a very deep question. I actually think it's the question at the bottom of the postmodern conundrum, which is whether or not there are any reliable meta-narratives, let's say, overarching narratives that can unite people in some fundamental way. And so I was curious, were these just two arbitrary ways of looking at the world, both potentially equally valid? And were we battling that out because we didn't know and there was no other way to battle it out? Or was there something deeper at stake